With every day that Ukraine's heroic resistance continues, it is clear that Putin has made a catastrophic mistake. And you have to ask yourself why he did it. Why did he decide to invade this totally innocent country? He didn't really believe that Ukraine was going to join NATO anytime soon. He knew perfectly well there was no plan to put missiles on Ukrainian soil. He didn't really believe the semi-mystical guff he wrote about the origins of the Russian people. I don't know whether you read it, Nostradamus meets Russian Wikipedia. I think that wasn't what it was about. I think he was frightened of Ukraine for an entirely different reason. He was frightened of Ukraine because in Ukraine they have a free press, and in Ukraine they have free elections. And with every year that Ukraine progressed, not always easily, towards freedom and democracy and open markets, he feared the Ukrainian example, and he feared the implicit reproach to himself. Because in Putin's Russia, you get jailed for 15 years just for calling an invasion an invasion. And if you stand against Putin in an election, you get poisoned or shot. And it's precisely, that's what happens. And it's precisely because Ukraine and Russia have been so historically close that he has been terrified of the effect of that Ukrainian model on him and on Russia. And he's been in a total panic about a so-called color revolution in Moscow itself. And that's why he's trying so brutally to snuff out the flame of freedom in Ukraine. And that's why it is so vital that he fails. Because a victorious Putin will not stop in Ukraine, and the end of freedom in Ukraine will mean the extinction of any hope of freedom in Georgia and then Moldova. And it will mean the beginning of a new age of intimidation across the whole of Eastern Europe, from the Baltic to the Black Sea. And if Putin succeeds in crushing Ukraine, it will be the green light for autocrats everywhere, in the Middle East, in the Far East. This is a turning point for the world, and it's a moment of choice. It's a choice between freedom and oppression. And I know there are some around the world, even in some Western governments, who invoke what they call realpolitik, and who say that we're better off making accommodations with tyranny. I have to say I believe they are profoundly wrong. And that to try to re-normalize relations with Putin after this, as we did in 2014, would be to make exactly the same mistake again. And I'm very grateful to my friend Ben Wallace, also there in the front row, for his foresight many months ago, and for getting me to read Putin's crazy essay, which I did. And we're talking continuously, Liz, Ben and I were talking continuously to our colleagues in the Ukraine support group to discuss what more we can do. And those conversations go on literally every day, and there will be more. I'm proud of what we did on sanctions. We were in the lead in sanctioning SWIFT and the banks when banning Aeroflot. We've now sanctioned more banks and individuals than any other European country, and we will be distraining their yachts and their assets. And of course, there is a cost to all these actions. Of course, there is. But the cost of doing nothing would be far, far higher. Putin's war is intended to cause economic damage to the West and to benefit him. And he knows that with every dollar increase in the price of a barrel of oil, he gets billions more in revenues from the sales of oil and gas. And that's the tragedy of the situation. He's been preparing for this moment by pushing hydrocarbons on the West like a backstreet pusher, feeding our addiction, creating a dependency. And now he wants to weaken the collective will to resist by pushing up the cost of living.